Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Friday Transportation Seminar. My name is Teresa Somrak. I'm the Office and Events Coordinator for TREC, the Transportation Research and Education Center at Portland State University, and I will be moderating today's seminar. Our Friday Transportation Seminars have been a tradition since 2000. These seminars are usually held live on Portland State University's urban campus, in addition to being broadcast as webinars. But due to COVID-19, we will be doing this fully online today. Today, we're pleased to have Tammy Lee and Kristen Tufte speaking. And they're going to be talking about creating and using a publicly available multimodal transportation data archive. Tammy is our Transportation Data Program Administrator here at TREC, and Kristen is a Research Assistant Professor in Portland State University's Computer Science Department. She has over 25 years of data management research and implementation experience and has been collaborating with Portland area public sector agencies on Portal for the past 15 years. And before jumping straight into the seminar, I'll let you know about a few other upcoming events. On the 15th, we will have the second talk of a two-part series in collaboration with Portland's Bureau of Transportation on its Vision Zero action plan. Matt Kelly will be speaking about how safe speeds save lives, how Portland is managing speeds for safety. On May 22nd, we will have John MacArthur and Aaron Golub from Portland State University presenting their research on understanding technology-based exclusion in emerging smart mobility systems. To see our full schedule of upcoming events, and you can also find part 1 of the Vision Zero series here too, please visit trec.pdx.edu/events. And so just an overview of what to expect from this seminar. Tammy and Kristen will be presenting until just about 12:30, and they'll be answering questions throughout the presentation. So if you have any questions, go ahead and send them through that questions box in your control panel. We will be recording today's webinar, and it will be available on our website later today. You'll also receive the video recording and presentation slides in an email following the webinar in the next day or two. If you're tracking professional development hours, this webinar is eligible for 1 hour of continuing education credit. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to our presenters.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. This is Kristen, and myself and Tammy will be your presenters today. So let me just go ahead and hit present here. And just confirming, Teresa, that you all can see my screen.
Yes, looks clear, thank you.
Wonderful. All right, so as Teresa said, my name is Kristen Tufte. I'm faculty in computer science here at Portland State. And I want to thank all of you for taking a moment to be here with us today. We're going to talk a little bit about Portal, see some amazing analysis that Tammy has done, and then a sneak peek at Biped Portal. Let me first just take a moment to acknowledge Tammy and thank her for her hard work, both on the analysis and for all the work she does on the Portal project, as well as the rest of the team who are listed on this slide. Okay, and as Teresa said, more than happy to have questions throughout the presentation. I'll also give you a warning. My internet has been very flaky this morning in terms of work from home problems. So my internet's been kind of flaky. So if I get kicked out, then Tammy will be taking over, but hopefully this will stay stable for the next little bit while I present. All right, there we go. Okay. So today we're going to talk about what we affectionately call the portals. This is Portal and Biped Portal, which are formed together a multimodal transportation data archive. For those of you who are not familiar with Portal, it's been around for a while. It is the official transportation data archive for the Portland and Vancouver metropolitan area and archives a wide variety of data. Biped Portal, developed by Trek, is a national archive for bicycle and pedestrian data. And as I said, today, what we're going to do is first a little bit of a tour of Portal. We've done some, made some new improvements. And if you haven't seen it in a little while, I think we have some interesting stuff to show. Tammy has done some really nice analysis using the Portal data on the sort of impacts of COVID-19. And she'll also give you a sneak peek at the new Biped Portal website. Okay, so this is just one slide on Portal, and then I've got another slide on Biped Portal. And I said most of this, but just for your awareness, this is what Portal is, and this is a list of the different types of data that we currently archive in Portal. I think we're up to something like 12, 13, 14 terabytes of database at this point. Here is another way to look at Portal. This is Portal in pictures. So across the bottom, I have symbols showing the different types of data that we ingest. And then you can see that those feed into the visualizations that we show on the website. I threw this picture in just for fun. This picture is about, I don't know, 14 or 15 years old. And so that was the original vision for the Portal architecture. And I always think it's fun to look at that picture, seeing that we've come a long way and achieved what really was the original vision of Portal. So Biped Portal is this wonderful new data archive that Trek has been working on. In contrast to Portal, this is a national archive and it contains data from across the United States, and both automated counters, manual counters, just a wide variety of bicycle and pedestrian data. And we are just finishing up the user interface on this, and Tammy will give you a sneak peek at that today. Okay. So what I've got for the next few minutes is what I wanted to do today actually was I really wanted to do a live demo of the Portal website, but with all the internet issues and what have you, decided that maybe that wasn't the best option. So we're doing this via screenshot today. But these slides and recording will be available for you to go back and see. But so hopefully this serves as a bit of a tour or a demo of the Portal website. I'm going to focus on 3 pages today: the stations page, the travel time page, and the vehicle length page. And so, like I said, what I've done is I've created a series of screenshots as I walked through the website looking for some interesting recent trends. And so this is a set of screenshots taken from that walkthrough of the website. Let me just make it really clear. I am a data geek and I am not a transportation engineer, right? My background is in database management, and I think a really nice way to think about my expertise and my area of work is that best words would be like data architect or data engineer. But as I looked at the website, I did try and find some interesting recent trends, and so we'll see what you all think. So right here, this is the stations page, and this shows detections on freeways in both Oregon as well as up in Washington. The colored dots tell you which direction is the flow of the traffic, and you can see the little legend down here. So I'm going to pick a station. So I zoomed into the map here, and a particular station to look at. I picked Bertha on I-5 northbound. This used to be on my commute, and so it's just a station I'm sort of familiar with, and I think there's a lot of traffic there, so it's a bit of an interesting station to look at. Okay. So you click on the little blue thing here. You see this page, and then what you want to do is click on this Explore button right here, and that will bring you here. And so what this is showing, so what I've done here is I've picked, this is showing the plot of speed and volume for a selected week in February. And I know this is a little small, so I zoomed in on the plot, but let me first comment that this is from February 10th through the 14th, and we're looking at speed and volume at a 1-hour resolution. So I zoomed in here so that you could see things a little more clearly, hopefully. And you can look at those are the key parameters that I selected for this plot. So you can see the increase in volume during the days and the decrease in speed also during the peaks. So volume is the blue dots and speed is the green line. And if this were actually live, I would be able to mouse over one of these dots and see the actual values, as well as I could use the buttons down here to turn the volume and speed lines off and on. So I thought an hour was a little bit too coarse-grained. So I switched to a 15-minute granularity. So you can see up here, I've circled this area, and I think you can see my mouse. I hope so. If you can't see my mouse, if somebody could let me know, that would be great. I changed the resolution up here to 15 minutes, and so now we can see the same pattern, just at a slightly more granular level. So this is relatively straightforward. What I'm going to do now is switch. What I'm doing now is I'm switching this resolution called group. So if you look at this plot, you notice that what you see is you see the days February 10th, 11th, 12th, etc. And then you see speed on the x-axis or on the left-hand axis, and the volume is over here on the right-hand axis. And what you see on this plot is you see each day of the week separately. And I'm going to use an option called group that sort of merges all those days together. So group is the word that Portal has always used for this. Aggregate is maybe another word that one might use for this. So now we can see all those days, February 10th through 14th, all the days grouped or merged together. So we can see the trends over this week period. And so notice the drops in speed and the increase in volume throughout the day. So I thought it would be interesting then. So what I've done here, so this analysis is for a single week, but sometimes you might want to look at more than a week, like a month or so. So I redid this exact same analysis, only for a full month. And this time I picked only midweek days. So what this plot here is showing is average speeds and volume for midweek days in February. So I know that believe that some of our users that they like this. This gives a really nice picture of speed and volume over a full month. I'll just back up here and point out that along the bottom here, and I'm sorry, this is Google Slides, this thing pops up and it covers part of my slides, but at the bottom here, when that disappears, you can see that there are buttons here that will allow you to download the data associated with this plot. So this is February, average in February. And so I thought it would be interesting to compare and see what has happened recently. So I changed the dates here to a different week, so April 27th through May 1st, and I did the same plot. And again, this is the ungrouped plot so that you see each day individually. And what you can notice is that the green line basically stays at 50 miles an hour. So we can see that due to the social distancing, the speeds have remained very much the same. Or when I'm saying the speeds remain the same throughout the day, we don't have peaks anymore. And same plot. Again, I switched from the non-group plot to the group plot, and here you can really see how the speeds are constant throughout the day. So again, my intent here is not to analyze the traffic. My intent is really just to walk you through this page on the website. Okay. I'm going to switch now and look at the travel time page. So this is a travel time page which gathers data from ODAT sensors as well as from sensors on the arterials in City of Portland, in Washington County, and up in Washington in Clark County. And you can look on this page, you can get travel time. You can also see travel time reliability. So let me just walk you through some of this. So to use the travel time page, you click a route and you click on one of these dots, and once you click on the dot, it will tell you upstream a next downstream station you can click on. So you select the route just kind of like this. And you'll notice that in the upper right hand, or sort of in the center middle of the screen here, the system is telling you what route it is that you've picked. So I've picked a route here from Powell on I-205 North from Powell to Halsey. And over here on the right-hand side, to show the data, I pick a start week. So what this plot is going to show you, it's going to show you travel time on this path for the week of March 15th and 3 previous weeks. So it's going to allow you to compare 4 weeks of travel time as well as the travel time reliability. So here's the plot for the weeks, for the week of 3/15 and the 4 previous weeks. Again, if this were live, I could mouse over and see the actual values here, as well as I could use these buttons down here to turn on and off the plots. So I've simulated that here. And what I'm going to do is pretend that I'm clicking on one of these items here at the bottom. And I'm going to turn off the plot for the week of February 23rd. So I click to turn off the week of February 23rd. Similarly, I can click and turn on or off each individual week so I can compare these weeks together. So this plot was developed in conjunction with a lot of our stakeholders, and this was one thing that people told us they wanted, was the ability to compare multiple weeks of travel time. Okay. Finally, I want to point out that you can add reliability data, and I've used this button down here to add reliability data. And then I've turned on the 80th percentile travel time. That's actually the default. So you can get 80th percentile travel time, 20th percentile travel time, 5% travel time, 95th percentile travel time. So you can both see 4 weeks. So you can pick 4 weeks of travel time and then also see an 80th or 95th percentile travel time. And that travel time reliability, or that 80th or 90th percentile travel time, me go back here. That is calculated using this number here called reliability weeks. So what you're seeing on that plot is the travel time for the week of March 15th and 3 weeks prior, as well as travel time reliability calculated over the preceding 26 weeks. So March 15th and 25 weeks prior are used to calculate those reliability numbers. And you can adjust this number, you can adjust the number of weeks over which the reliability is calculated as you please. I use 26 as that was the default, again, as suggested by our users. Okay. Two other things that I want to point out quickly. There is, similar to we saw on the stations page, how you could aggregate or group multiple days together and select days of weeks. You can also do that on this page, as well as you can use this download button. And that download button gives you just the data that's associated with this plot. When did Robert ask a question? Let me see. When did development of Portal begin and how long did initial development take? So I have a question from the web. So the development of Portal began with a grant from the National Science Foundation in 2004. So this was initially a research project under the direction of Dr. Robert Bertini, and it was actually, for those who are in academic circles, it was an NSF career grant. So we really began development back in 2004. I joined the project maybe 2005 or 2006. And so I think it was 2 or 3 years or so until we had the initial website. We're on, we sort of do rolling upgrades, but I would say we're on basically version 3 of the website now. So when we started in 2004, we had freeway data and freeway data only. And if you're interested, I have some really fun screenshots of Portal from back in the day. And then since then, we've added travel time data and vehicle length data. And we also collect variable sign data and incident data. So it's hard for me to give just an exact. It took 2 years for the initial development. It's really been a building on itself for the past 15 years. So did that help answer your question, Robert, or do you have a follow-up question? Okay. Let me know if that answered or if there's additional questions. One comment that I want to make is that I think one thing that's really cool about Portal is that it really started as a research project, and it's relatively rare, or quite rare actually, for a research project to start as a research project and then become more, let's say, operationalized and sustain beyond the research timeline. So I guess it's something that I have always been excited about, is that we were able to take the project from research proof of concept into an ongoing funded archive. Okay. All right. Okay, the last page. And so there are a whole bunch of different pages on the Portal website. I picked 3 to show you today. I picked stations, travel time, and vehicle length. The highways page is also, I think, a very interesting page. I almost put in some slides on that, but then I decided not to. There are also a couple other pages on arterial and arterial signal. So frankly, the arterial and the arterial signal are less well developed than these first 4 here. Okay. Okay, so this is vehicle length page, and this we collect vehicle length data from the it's collected from the inductive loops on the ODOT sensors, and the idea with vehicle length, right, is to get an idea of passenger cars versus freight. So freight vehicles are longer, passenger vehicles are short, and so vehicle length gives you an idea of freight traffic. So I'm going to first select a station, and I want to just point out that when you select a station, you can, when you click on select a station, you get the ability to start typing a name instead of having to search through a long drop-down menu. So whenever you want to select a station, if you know which station you're going to look at, you can just type in the name of it. So I wanted to use the Marine Drive station because that's what Tammy also used in her analysis. So I'm gonna run through this. I picked a week in April, and this is what the plot looks like. So this is vehicle volumes by different lengths of vehicles. So short, little longer, and little longer. So it allows you to compare volumes of different lengths of vehicles. As with the other plot, there's also an aggregate. And in the aggregate in this case, you can pick to see only particular ranges. So I happen to pick the short and medium length ranges for this. And so for this one, what I'm doing is comparing, instead of looking at just a week of traffic, I'm looking at the past 4 months. So this shows for shorter vehicles, the blue line is January, the black line is February, and here is March, and orange is April. So we're seeing the decrease in traffic over the past 4 months. Okay, let me finish up very quickly here. Like I said, there are many other pages. One I definitely want to point to that I definitely want to point you at are, one is the downloads page, and on every page where there's a plot, you can also download and get the data associated with that plot. And but the downloads page is targeted for users who want larger sets of data. And if you want very large sets of data, our team is always willing to get large sets of data for you. So if you want to get data from Portal, your first go-to is perhaps download the data associated with the plot. Second go-to is the download pages where you can get larger volumes of data. And if neither one of those meets your needs, then don't hesitate to email us. Our email is at the end of the slides, and we're pretty responsive. We usually turn around a data request in a day or two. Do you have any advice on how to get more city and state DOTs on board? Oh, that is a good question. So how do we get more city and state DOTs on board? Well, I think that's a really good question. And I think my answer to that is one thing that I have done that I think has worked really well is to just be there. So I try to be active in our local transportation community. This is funded by a group called Transport, which is ITS coordinating committee of Metro, which is our metropolitan planning organization. And both Tammy and I are very active in members of Transport. And so to me, I think it's really about making the connections and being there and going into their space and listening and hearing what they want and trying to understand what our clients want and provide solutions that they're interested in, right? And so it's interesting, I teach classes in data science, and people seem to always think that data science is about algorithms, and to me, data science is much more about the personal connections and the listening and the interpersonal part of it. So yeah, it can be really hard. The other thing is that I'm lucky, and we're in Portland, and in Portland, people are really generous with sharing their data, and I know that's not necessarily the case across the country. So I think part we're lucky. But if I had to give one piece of advice, that's it, is to go be there and to listen and understand what they need and want. One last page, we have a pretty nice documentation page that it's not perfect, but it's really more than we had a year or two ago, and I really thank Tammy for that. And we're continually working to improve that. That's one of our focuses right now, is improving the documentation, adding some training. We also have monthly Portal user group meetings, which if you're interested in using Portal, you're welcome to attend. Okay. That is it. I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to turn it over to Tammy and let her talk about Biped Portal and her wonderful analysis.
Great, thanks, Kristen. I think you need to give me permission to
Control.
decide. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great. I think I have that.
Do you have it?
So yeah, I should. So this is Biped Portal. This is a redesign of the website that used to be up a couple years ago. So we've made some improvements to it, and I'll take you through what we have available at the moment. So to get to the Explore page, you have the Explore on the button on the top menu bar, as well as just clicking on Get Started. And I don't know if I can advance. Oh, there, right. Okay. So when you click on the Explore page, you'll see a map, and every place that has data has been shaded in, and you can use the menu on the side to click the state that you're interested to get data. In this case, we're picking Oregon, and it's highlighted from red to blue. So once that happens, it'll take you to the state of Oregon, and then you can also pick the different counters that you're interested in, and you can either do that by zooming in and then clicking on a specific location, or you can look and scroll down on the menu that's on the right side. So we have it so far currently set up where the detectors or the locations are highlighted either as automatic, manual, or a mixed count. And in this case, I'll be showing an example of the Explore page using the Telecom Crossing Bridge. So once you select the area that you're interested in, a little pop-up will show up with some information, and then you can click on the Explore page. So once you click on the Explore page, it'll show you the total counts per year. And if this were a live demo, if you can scroll, you'd be able to scroll over the different bars, in which case the a little bit of information will be provided about each one. So in this case, you'll see on the lower left, on the lower area, that there's bicycles, and it'll give you the direction of the flow, either east or west, in this case for the Telecom Crossing. So once you, from the yearly, you can click on the 2020 and advance to the next slide. Right. So you have the option. So it'll tell you for each of the panels what you need to do. So in this case, click on the year bar to view the monthly plot, and then click on the year bar to show some other plots. So here you have the monthly counts, and then on the lower panel, you have the total counts per day. In addition, you should be able to download the data as well. So the data that's being used for that specific figure will be downloaded. So if you want the hourly or the daily counts, you'll have to go to the panel that shows the hourly or daily counts to get that data. In addition, you can show the counts in a different way. So in this case, we have side-by-side bar plots. Here, if you click this button, you should get a stacked bar, and then over here, if you click average, then you'll get the average count instead. So in this case, it's stacked, and here you have the average monthly count. Another feature you can do is sort of pick the range that you'd like to focus on, and you can use that by using these little tabs on the lower bar, and then it'll zoom in on the area on top. Similar to Portal, you can also click and unclick the different legends on the bottom, and that'll either turn on or off what you're viewing on the figures. So here, if you click on Sunday, April 19th, 2020, you'll get the hourly count on the below. So that's basically what's available for the on the public side. We also have a user login. So this is for more of the user restricted side. So up in the upper right corner, there's a login. Click on that. You sign in using your email name, your email, and a password that's given to you. In this case, we're using Jennifer as an example, so you can see what it looks like as a user versus a sysadmin account, which is what I have. And what's available in this portion is for the user restricted site is that we have a QA/QC interface, a download data interface, your information, and then should you ever have to change your password. So just a couple of quick notes. The download data interface, you should be able to download any data from any location. In addition to that, it's not just the count, but you also get metadata that's associated with each location. And so the metadata it also includes information such as functional classification, facility type, facility description, direction of flow, what's being counted. Is it bicycle, is it pedestrian, is it both? So there's additional information that's available that isn't necessarily being shown on the website, but it's information in the database that's also being captured. And in addition to that, the user interface, there are different roles that are set up. So you can either be an organization administrator or organization user. And one of the distinctions is that as an organization administrator, you would be able to look at the QA/QC page and make the edits that are required. So you can review the different the data that's in there. If you're an organization user, you won't be able to do that. So the reasoning behind that is if you have an organization with like 20 people that are really interested in using Biped data, you don't exactly want all 20 people to be able to go into your QA/QC section and then start making decisions that they may or may not be familiar with. The other feature for the user login stuff is that if you are an organization that is working or partnering with other organizations, then you have the option to sort of share those responsibilities. So if you have if you're part of a 3-member organization and you're like, okay, we're sharing our data, but only one person from this particular organization is going to actually have the ability to review data, upload, add, or edit any data, then that will go to that one person at that particular organization and not necessarily grant that to everybody else. I hope that makes sense. So here is a screenshot of what it looks like for our QA/QC page. The metrics that we have implemented include 0 run length, volume, non-zero run length, and rolling median. So the 0 run length is based on some metrics that were, these metrics were actually based off some work that Kristen and Nathan McNeil had worked on previously. So in this case, here's an example of, you're seeing a bunch of zeros in the month of May, and they're all flagged as suspicious. So over here, you have the flagged data values, and O is okay, S is suspicious, and P is possibly suspicious. And in this case, yes, it is suspicious. And if you look at some reporting, I think TriMet was doing some construction over at that point. So in this case, you'd say, yes, it's suspicious. And then you would be able to mark selected as invalid, or mark as unsure, or mark selected as valid. So once you select that, then over here, it'll change the color, so you'll be able to see how it's being flagged. And then you have non-zero run length. So that's, for example, saying like, oh, you have a count of 50 for like 30 days in a row or something. It's not that great, but like a count of 50 and it's occurring 20 times in a row for 15-minute counts, and that would get flagged as, hey, this might be possibly suspicious. And then the rolling median, it really depends on how much data you have available in the database. And I believe the requirement is a minimum of 3 months worth of data, and the rolling median is based on the median value for the past 27 days. And let's see what else, anything else about this page. Let's see. And slide advance. Okay, right. So on the right panel, you'll see the different selections that you can look at. So here you pick the month and the year, and then since this is all sort of highlighted gray, then it's not yet reviewed versus fully reviewed or partially reviewed. So you can go back and see like which months of data have been or have not been reviewed. So that's just a quick snapshot of what we worked on. Some other things that are being worked on or we're doing an organization-specific dashboard. So if you are part of an organization and that you have like 50 counters located in a specific area, then when you sign in, you should be able to see sort of a high-level overview and summary of what's going on with your counters, or sort of like how many, what's the total volume by site or location, see what locations you have, just some basic metrics. In addition, we also have, it's available so that you can export data out of Biped Portal into the TMAS format if that's something that your organization is looking for. In addition, there's been some work done on some AAD and MT calculations as well. And while a lot of this stuff has been worked on and in theory complete, it's not been deployed yet, but it will be soon. So just going to move on. I actually can't see a chat box or a questions box, so if there are questions, just let me know at the end. So a couple of things we've been working on looking at are some transportation trends since COVID-19 in Oregon. And this slide just shows a couple of dates to keep in mind. For all intents and purposes, the two dates to keep in mind are March 12th and March 23rd. So March 12th is the closing of all schools, and then March 23rd was when the official stay-at-home order was announced. So I used data straight out of Portal. Just wanted to make sure when using any sort of, this is just a demonstration of like, yes, you can go to Portal, you can download data. This is data directly downloaded from the downloads page for highways data. I did not do any fancy SQL querying on the back end or anything. So this is something that if you're curious about or just wanted to poke around with, this is publicly available as well. So here we have mean daily volume on I-5 northbound in Oregon. Just looking at daily volume trends. And then see and compare if there are any changes in volumes, if we can sort of see a trending downwards after around March 16th. I used February 22nd as a reference week. So, so Sunday, Monday, and Monday, that's the reference week that I'm focusing on. And I chose February 22nd as the reference week only because NRIC has been posting additional information and analysis and data about the national trends since the COVID-19, and they also use a reference week of February 22nd. So if you were interested to see how it compares nationally, you could also look at the posts that they've been producing on their website and kind of sort of see how Oregon, or at least the Portland area, compares. So here, using February 22nd as a reference week, the solid orange line is March 12th, and then the dotted orange line is March 23rd. And you can see that the average daily volume along I-5 northbound, it declined for like the first several weeks, or first four or 5 weeks, and then it's starting to maybe trend a little bit less than it has been in the past. These are just summary observations. No time series analysis has been done. This is more kind of like a conversation starter of what we're looking at and how else should we be looking at data and trends. Next one. Okay. Right, so then we have vehicle length daily volume as well. Picked Marine Drive 99 east to I-5 northbound, and here is vehicle length daily volume. So same sort of time frame. These are just the absolute daily volumes that you might see, split up by the different vehicle lengths. So on the top panel would be like more your passenger vehicles, and then the very bottom would be more like your commercial long-haul vehicles. And if we use February 22nd, okay, slide advance. Okay, if we use February 22nd as a reference week again, then, and it's the same thing with the solid orange being March 12th and the dotted being March 23rd, you can see how passenger vehicles have declined over time, whereas there's a little bit more variability with commercial vehicles. So our supply chain is working, perhaps. I'm not a vehicle length or a freight expert, so this is just to show you what's going on with other types of vehicles. So in addition to looking at sort of the traffic, your typical vehicle or vehicle length or freight traffic, we've also looked at Biped data, or specifically bicycle data, since we have Biped Portal. And in this case, we're looking at Tillicum and Hawthorne Bridge. Since a lot of people tend to bike towards downtown, and those are the two bridges that have continuous permanent counters that we can look at. So here are the daily counts along the Hawthorne and Tillicum Bridge. Again, it's the same orange solid line is March 12th and dotted is March 23rd. So you can sort of see a drastic decline compared to prior March 12th. So again, so we're using February 22nd as a reference date just to keep it consistent. And you can see how that there is a pretty dramatic decline during the weekdays. And then on the weekends, you see like huge spikes compared to that reference week. And in this case, it's Hawthorne and Tillicum both going westbound into downtown. Trying to advance the slide. Kristen, if you can hear me, if you could advance the slide, that would be great.
It appears
Okay.
that Kristen's lost internet connection. So Tammy, if you do have the slides up on your computer, we can change you to the presenter.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay. Great. So I will go to present. I'm assuming everyone can see my slides.
Yes, I can see them.
Awesome. Okay. I will go to. Great. So this is where we left off. We did a comparison also looking at the bicycle volumes from this year to the same time last year. And while we wanted to look at that, there's some gappy data. So we were only able to really look at telecom, and it's really hard to tease out what effects are necessarily attributed to the social distancing order versus what effects are due to seasonality. So until we have a little bit more data, those effects can't be seen quite as well. So one way to look at it, or a different way that we could look at what might be changing in terms of the pre and post social distancing order is we looked at weekday and versus weekend trends prior to March 12th and then after March 12th. So here you can see that on the top panel, this is weekday and weekend, and then here is the telecom bridge. So this is pre social distancing measure, and this is post. So here on the weekday, you have directions going eastbound and westbound, and westbound is the dotted line, and when it's westbound, it's going into downtown. So you get the peak here or towards OHSU campus, and then eastbound for direction, it's sort of the opposite. It starts later, like people are leaving or going back to the east side. So you kind of sort of see this bimodal trend. And then whereas on the weekend, you just see sort of like a little bit of a peak, lower bike volume, usually happens around midday, sort of more like a recreational usage. So how does that look post social distancing orders of COVID? You sort of see a little bit of a peakiness westbound in the morning, and that may or may not be attributed to people biking to OHSU or not, but you definitely see it's sort of not as a striking peak in, or it's not the same sort of pattern that you would expect prior to these social distancing measures. And then here on the weekend, you see a slight increase in weekend recreational riding. Again, it's too soon to make any sort of definitive conclusions or strong statements about what's going on, but it is definitely interesting to see sort of that shift from bimodal to just a single peak. And so we were also curious as to, is this only something that we observe in Portland? What about other locations? And the Biped Portal being a national archive, we're able to look at a couple other locations. And in this case, we looked at Folsom Street south of Arapahoe Avenue in Colorado. And this is located by Colorado University, I believe. And then on the right, we have Key Bridge in Arlington, Virginia, and that connects Arlington to DC, sort of by the Georgetown area. So here's Colorado. The pre and post dates are based off of when they did the school closures for the state of Colorado. So here you can see that same sort of bimodal peak that we saw in telecom, and then on the weekend it's not as just a little single, not even a bell curve distribution sort of. And so then that was pre-social distancing measures, and then post, you don't see that bimodal peak anymore. It's pretty low, and then same with the weekend. It's not dramatically different prior or in comparison to before COVID, and that also might be due to the fact that that particular location is located by the university, so if there are any students, then it's not really being used. Here we have the weekend, weekday versus pre and post for the Key Bridge in DC. Here you have that sort of bimodal distribution. In this case, it's eastbound and westbound, people traveling back and forth on that bridge. And then on the weekend, you see a little bit of travel, not as sort of like your typical weekend travel pattern. And then post, you have this, you lose that bimodal distribution or pattern for the weekday, but then on the weekend, you see higher usage of that bridge, but probably most likely due to recreational purposes. It's a lot higher than it used to be prior to their social distancing measures being in place. So these are just some preliminary observational analyses that we've done. So hopefully as time goes on, we'll have a little bit better idea and a little bit more data to work with. And with that, if there are any questions, just these are our contact information. Contact info is askportal@pdx.edu.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I have got one general question. I'm curious if there are any specific projects in the future that you're excited to potentially use Portal, either in Oregon or in other states.
That's a good question. At the moment, we're working on just looking at some of the effects on trends that we've been viewing in terms of those social distancing measures and how it's changing traffic patterns, I guess. I don't know if Kristen has anything else to say.
I think what I would say looking forward, we are working on a dashboard for Biped Portal. In terms of Portal itself, we're really focusing on documentation and training. We're looking at data, highly granular traffic signal data. And there's also an ongoing project that John MacArthur and myself work on joint with University of Arizona, looking at data from connected streetcars. So those are some things we have ongoing that are, or maybe coming soon, I should say.
Very cool. Well, Kristen, we're glad you're back with us.
Sorry
thank you. No, it's everybody. It's happened to everybody. So thank you everyone for joining us. I'm gonna take over as presenter to show our last slide that has our contact information on it, as well as just the link to our upcoming events if you want to tune in for any of our upcoming seminars. And with that, I just want to thank Kristen and Tammy again. It was wonderful to have you present on this today, and we hope that everybody has a good weekend.